reiterate Mark Bruce's sentiments about how thankful I think we all are to the Keating government when they introduced the superannuation in the 90s. What a great thing for all Australians to be able to, retire from work and have this little nest egg of money to set up and travel and do all the great things that you guys have talked about that, the own financial
Yeah.
planning is all about.
It's great self-determination because if we had the choice, would we be putting aside
So,
11% of our
yeah,
money to something that we can't access for 30 or 40 years? Probably not a lot of the time. So that forced savings habit yeah, look, we can we can have different ideological philosophies around it, but the proof's in the pudding. It's a multi-trillion dollar pool of money that's just a result of regulation that probably wouldn't be anything like that if people were left to their own devices. So I obviously don't want complete government control over what you do with your money, but I think I think there's a lot of sort of irrational negative opinions without taking a view on either side of politics. Sometimes there's some irrational perceptions about superannuation in general, that it's like this is government football. Yes, in some respects, there's been changes over time to the taxation treatment of super. There's one coming up later this year that's going to have a significant impact, but it's still a structure that is highly tax efficient relative to investing outside of it. And to Adil's point earlier, it's one that in our 20s, 30s, and sometimes even 40s can have a tendency to be ignored, except during that period of COVID when you could pull $10,000 out and do what you want with
yeah.
it.
Although you
Um,
can you can have a self-managed super fund though, like there, and you can pull money out if you try have it struggling to get your first property. I think it's just in
yeah,
general, it's a good
exactly.
structure for saving. It's doing what a lot of people can't, which is developing discipline with their saving. Instead, you've got this barrier where you've got to cross where this money just residually goes out into your
Yeah.
superannuation.
And to Adil's point on that, yes, that's great that structure's in place and money's going into it. It's paying attention to it and seeing that as your
Yeah.
money and seeing that that is it's part of the pool of funds that is building towards that desired retirement lifestyle. And we call it sort of we kind of prefer the term work optional lifestyle to retirement because I think the nature of the concept of retirement's changed significantly across generations. Is that you're going to live for another 30, 40 years potentially beyond the official retirement age in Australia. It's a fairly significant part of your life. Whereas the entire retirement system was built around it was built in a time where life expectancy was 66, 67
Yeah.
years. You retired and then you lived for a couple of years and you died. So making sure that you really think consciously about the things that you would like to be doing if you weren't working, and then making sure that you've got an investment strategy working towards achieving those outcomes so that you're balancing the present with the future, that you are still enjoying life along the way instead of getting to retirement and going, well, what do I do now? Um, I, it's having that sort of clear picture of what you would like to be working towards it and is as important as how you invest the money.
Without getting political, do you find there's a certain type of character which generally is against the superannuation when you're talking about moving
Yeah.
money around? Yeah,
And it isn't necessarily one side of politics. It's I'd say it's just one of the many limiting mindsets that sometimes people have. It's like an easy thing to have this bogeyman that the government's going to take my super away, or
yeah.
the government's going to do this, or powers that be are going to do that. And
Pessimistic. Yeah,
it was just an easy excuse to do nothing, is to blame some vague concept of, well, I'm not going to pay attention to super because I can't control it, I can't access it now. The government keeps changing tax rules and things like that. All of them are just convenient excuses to avoid taking action. I feel very passionately about it because
yeah. I
it
can
annoys
tell.
it
Yeah,
annoys me. It just annoys me that people get in because I know I've been guilty of versions of it in the past in my own life. Is you just get out of your head and just
yeah.
take action. Is
Oh, we
Like,
got to, we live in a pretty good country, and whilst things are
absolutely,
really tight, you got to feel lucky. And that's why
absolutely.
there's so many people coming from abroad to live here, like yourself, Adil.
Absolutely, for me, for I was about to say, I jump in there, Hayden, to say it is the best. It has been the best decision of my life moving to Australia. Like, yes, I did come from a background where I could have had a lot of choices in my life, but this one single choice which I made to move to Australia, I think I still consider that to be the best decision of my life.